Welcome back, guys. Here for another edition of Cats Coverage, our basketball podcast on the Field of 68 network. I am Trace Terrell. Got your co-host Michael Epps and producer Tim decided to hop on here. Michael, Tim,
What up?
big appearance.
What
So let's
up?
talk to Tim real quick. He ain't been on here in a while in terms of his actual face. He's been behind the scenes with us the whole time for the whole ride. But Tim comes and goes and with his face on camera. He's at the game, but like a lot of people I feel like don't know a lot about him. Tim, the mic's yours. How you doing tonight, man?
I am doing good. I mean, I've been in one episode, but totally different background I got going on here. Been busy moving into a new place and everything, but yeah, doing good. Finally got set up to where I can join in.
Yeah, Michael, how you doing, man? Good to have you.
Good man. I was gonna tell you before we recorded. I'll just tell you right now. Down in South Carolina, I talked to Jeff. That was cool. Just said hi to him and introduced myself. Obviously, giving us the opportunity at the Field of 68 is pretty dope. So it's a good pod, man. I'm ready to knock this pod out. We got a lot to talk about. Really, it's been a lot going on.
Yeah, we do. Just quickly, the last time we did this was after the Texas A&M loss, and we kind of previewed Mississippi State a little bit. But since then, 3 games have happened, and I know that Mississippi State game was felt like to me like 3 weeks ago now. So, we got the Mississippi State win, we got the Georgia win, and we got the South Carolina. I'll save my thoughts for that in a minute once we get into that. But just kind of recapping, we beat Mississippi State 90-77. Not a whole lot. Me and Tim were kind of talking about before this. Not a whole lot really happened, at least in my memory from that game. Cal got his 400th win. The players talking about how, they were happy for Cal. He says none of them knew, and I don't think they did until the reporters asked them, but they were all happy for him. Aaron Bradshaw said, I came to Kentucky for Cal. He's the GOAT. Dillingham was like, he's taught me so much. He is the GOAT. They all kept hitting on that. We got the first mention of the billboard went up a few days ago up in Indianapolis, and Cal's like, that was some aggression. I love our fans. But man, that was about it. That game is kind of becoming a blur now where a lot of these games kind of blend in together, at least in my mind. I'm really come and go. It's a lot of things, one ear out the other, and moving on to the next thing. But starting off with just a quick little hitting on Mississippi State before we move on to Georgia. Do you got any thoughts from that game? It was right off a loss, came back hot and won 90-77 at home over the Bulldogs.
Yeah, rolled in the first half, 47 points in the first half, which is kind of crazy to think about. Then scoring 25 in the first half in South Carolina. But we'll talk about that game later. Just this team, 90 plus in 4 straight games, just rolling. Antonio Reeves, 27. The guy's a dog. As we say every week, just scoring at all 3 levels. Really mature game. And you could tell he's just pure scorer. So he keeps rolling. And that game, Mississippi State, that game was never close. I mean, I was telling you guys, like, they're going to win by 20. Like, especially coming after a loss, like, you guys were going to roll, and you did. It really wasn't until the end. Like, Tolu Smith got some buckets late and made it, like, kind of close. But that game was never, like, it felt like a 20-point game the whole time. And then, man, I was there for the Mississippi State game. I wasn't there for the Georgia game. That thing must have been insane.
Yeah. Tim, you were there for both of those. How was Cal's 400th win with Kentucky? And then if you want to segue into the Georgia Big Z debut and that you were there for both of those. How was that, Tim?
Yeah, well, you've pretty much covered everything as far as Mississippi State goes, but how about that student hitting that $10,000 half court shot? I don't think that was televised, but that was pretty sick.
Yeah.
I think he hit back rim on the second one, so the third one he's hyping up the crowd and everything, getting them into it, and then nothing but net for 10,000. So that was pretty
Tim,
awesome to see.
for a while there, I think a couple years ago, they hit him like 2 or 3 games in a row. I think they originally started picking out students, and they just keep hitting them 10K, 10K, just bankrupting the founder, whoever funds that. I didn't see who that was, but then forever they picked the most uncoordinated, worst person for the shot that didn't come close. And so I gave up with that thing a long time ago. I'm surprised they brought a student out there. So he hit the shot like that was wild, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean that was awesome. And it's kind of hard to kind of segue into Georgia. It's kind of hard to say if the crowd was louder for that or when Big Z checked in. I mean, everybody is wait, was that Saturday?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Georgia.
So I mean,
Look,
Z found out through an email, didn't he? Like at 1:30 and the game's at 6 o'clock.
yeah,
And
let's go
so
through the timeline. That whole morning, afternoon was kind of wild, to be honest with you. I mean, we got the tweet from Big Z at 1:28 p.m. He's like, simple and it's plain and simple. Guys, I'm free. See you tonight. Go BBN, go Cats, all that good stuff. You could tell someone told him the first part of the clip of the video. He was like, say I'm free. They told him, but they knew how to get the Kentucky fans going. So he puts out that video, and then for the next 3 or 4 hours, the buzz around Lexington in this game. I gotta be there. People are getting tickets last minute. Let's go see Big Z. We didn't know what to expect, how he would be in this game. Surely didn't expect that. And I remember sitting there listening for the pregame show. Buzz Baker, he gets on there and says, "I've been told that Mitch Barnhart received an email at 1:30 today." Which I don't check out if Z put out the video at 1:28, so it's probably about 1 o'clock. But like, what is the NCAA doing sending out a email? Like, is this not 2024? Is this not 2024? Like, what's going on here? They send him an email, and what if Mitch Barnhart didn't check his email? It's a Saturday at 1 o'clock. Like, I don't know. Get back there Monday morning. Hey, oh, Z's eligible. He's been for 48 hours now. Like, what? But then he puts out that video, the hype in, and then the game starts. Z checks in with like 5 minutes into the game. How was that atmosphere, Tim? You were there.
Oh man, it's the loudest I had ever heard Rupp. Granted, I've been there probably about 10 times now, but definitely the loudest I had ever heard Rupp. And of course, there's the whole speculation. It's like he was just given eligibility. He's not going to play today. There's no way. So I mean, as soon as he gets up off the bench, the crowd just erupts. And then they had the media timeout. As soon as you come out of that, the crowd just erupts again. So it was awesome. I mean, it's like it's a script to a movie basically. You could sit there and put that out as a Hollywood movie and make millions of dollars off of it, I feel like.
Michael, what's your take on the Big Z debut?
Yeah, he's talented. I mean, we were talking all year. I was like, I don't think he's playing, man. Like at this point,
Okay.
they're not going to give it to him. Like they're just going to wait till next year to make him eligible. Like who cares? Move on. But the fans kept the hope up. I give them credit, and doing the billboard, that's wild. That's good stuff. I mean, I doubt that really had anything to do with it, but maybe it did. I mean, who knows inside those NCAA walls? But it's good, man. And then when you see him out there, it's like, dang, they really do have 3 7-footers. Like nobody else can do that. Like to be able to just rotate those guys in. You have one in at all times, really, like if you want to. Which is scary. That's a scary feat. And Trey, um, that it's interesting that he still played well. He's going to keep playing well. He's an old head. He can adjust to whatever it's going to look like out there. So just to have it is pretty wild. And I was up in Michigan. I went home to watch the Lions game with the fam, and so I wish I could have been there for the Georgia game. But I was watching it, and I was like, dang, this thing is crazy. Rupp is crazy. It kind of felt like a couple years ago, the Tennessee home game, tie that team, that's team like there was like a crazy run in the second half where the Cats exploded and that place got really loud. But so I wish I was there because you're right, Tim. That's probably the loudest Rupp has been in a really long time. So I wish I was there, but it's a cool feeling, man. It's a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the stat line, and Michael, you just mentioned we didn't expect him to play. I didn't expect him to play this year. Like, I really did not expect it. And he's back in Croatia, and I got to where I didn't think he was coming back. I have to be honest with you. I think I did say that on this podcast. So people can go back and use it against me. That's fine. But I did not think he was going to play this year, and I did not think he was coming back to Kentucky. I just thought it was a wraps. Comes back, and then just bam, a couple hour notice of eligibility. He goes out there and puts up, let's see, it was 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. And he had the 4 3-pointers. One got rolled back for stepping on the line. He had the behind the back pass to Antonio Reeves. What about him knocking down that shot? I mean, just to cap off that play, that took a lot of guts too. I don't think people talk a lot about that. He had a technical for elbowing the old dude in the face. He said he was trying to, in the post game interview, said I was just trying to get back at him. Just blatantly said it. And then the funniest thing that was my most favorite part out of all was he got he got the flagrant foul for the elbow, but he got the technical for the pulling up, doing the chin up on the rim. And it's just funny. He didn't know the rules because in Europe you're allowed to do that, but not in college basketball. And it's just he just didn't know the rules. I think that's so funny. I don't know why. Just sitting there dunked and did a chin up and just jogging back like what? And they blow the whistle and he's like, What did I do? But yeah, I mean, they say that behind the back past him that went to Antonio Reeves when he knocked down that shot. They said that was the loudest part of the game. I wasn't there as well. Do you think that was the loudest part, or was there another part that was louder? Or
It's hard to say. I mean that was the first thing he did whenever well, I guess he got a block first. But
oh,
then I mean that's kind of expected. But behind the back pass Antonio Reeves, that I don't think anybody expected that. But I mean he went down the court and hit his what like third three in a row. I mean the place erupted on that. It was incredibly loud. So it's pretty close between those two.
Yeah, it
yeah,
sounded like it would have been the last shot or that third straight shot or whatever, like that, just because like and then he shrugs, right? I mean, and then they put the Jordan shrug against. That was funny too, man. That must have been fun and good for him, because he comes over here, just wants to play, right? And he's supportive teammate on the bench. He's always talking to Ugo and Aaron, and just kind of wait, and then over the holidays must have been kind of a bummer. Maybe he was. I don't think he was regretting coming here, but there's always a little doubt. Like, dang, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I should have stayed over there involved and then just entered the draft or something. So it's good that it paid off, and then Cal must have just been like, good God, in his head when he hits those threes. I mean, but then he's not going to keep doing that. And obviously, he came back down to earth in the South Carolina game. But if he could, you know, just having that on the floor for spacing is huge. Just to know that he can do it is going to help just space it out, give more space for DJ to drive and Rob to drive, and utilize the paint a little bit. And that's something we talked about with the two Oscar teams, is like just the paint was never really free. Like if you put Ty Ty on this team, Ty Ty would have cooked, and like he was already cooking before he hurt his ankle. He hurt his ankle like twice. I was just talking to a buddy about it, the Auburn game when he sprained his ankle, and he was never the same after that. Like if you put Ty Ty on this team, like he would be balling like Rob's balling, just like shifty and getting to the cup. So pretty cool that for everybody to have Z come in, and if he has a couple more games like that, that's cool, but it's probably going to be more like the 6 to 8 point range maybe. But it'd be cool if he could keep doing this. That'd be wild.
yeah, I mean, heck of a debut. I mean, even if it's likely going to fizzle out a little bit, I mean, that was probably, you can't predict that. So to have a debut like that, you had your one shot, you get your debut obviously once, and you came out there and put that out. Historical debut. We'll talk about that forever. And I remember tweeting during the game, I was like, I cannot wait to tell my grandchildren about the Big Z debut. And looking back on it, it's a little corny now, but in that moment, I was like, I truly mean this. Like, this is so special. It was so much fun watching that, just for that glimpse for a little bit. And you got to love it for the kid. They asked him about how'd you feel once you first found out, and he said him and Cal were sitting in his office and they cried together. That's probably more Z crying than anything. And then I don't know if Cal's doesn't like to show those emotions. He's a big Italian. He doesn't show the sad emotions, I guess what I'm getting to. But he said they cried, and you got to love that for the kid. He finally gets rewarded. Kentucky's killing Georgia at halftime, but the second half comes. Kentucky's still up 28 points. I think it was 28, might have been the highest, 29, somewhere around there. And in the final 8 minutes, they just collapsed. The defense we've seen all year long came back, and they won by 9. So ultimate collapse. The defense was hidden for a while because the offense was just so hot, and with the second half, it came back around, and those people that had the cover of the over of, I think it was 14 points or so, lost that. The defense, man, that kind of segues into the South Carolina game. Part of the problem there, I don't know what we do about this defense, man. It's yeah, we can score 90 points a game, but if you're giving up 75, 80 points, what's the point? And then my point that I'm getting to is when the nights that the shots aren't falling, well, your defense is already a given to give up all these points. Well, that's when you get the South Carolina game. And I wrote this article after the game. I was like, here's a blueprint to beating Kentucky is you somehow find a way to take away their 3-point shooters and most of their shots falling. And then their defense is going to give you all the points you want. South Carolina could have named their score. They could have named how many points they wanted, and they were one of the first teams to take away Kentucky's hot 3-point shooting. They only hit 4 against South Carolina, and that's what happens, especially on a road environment. So that's all my thoughts I have on the Georgia game. We can segue into the South Carolina game, unless you'll have any final thoughts on the Georgia game and that win. All right, yeah. So going into the South Carolina game, it looks like the final score was 79-62. They had the blackout. Kentucky comes to town. That it used to really feel that we could flex on that a little bit, and they still have the blackouts, and they broke their student record for student tickets coming to the game. 5,000 students there. The hype is there. Not a seat empty, and Kentucky goes out there and gets absolutely beat down. Michael, you were there in Columbia. Can you kind of just hit on first with that, before we get into the madness, what that pregame, was like, and the atmosphere, and the sold out, and you spoke with Jeff Goodman. How was that, before the game actually started?
Yeah, it was weird because maybe I was just at the wrong entrance, but I was at the entrance with the Asia Wilson statue, and did a stand up out there previewing the game for Fox, and like there was a lot of blue, man. It was like all blue. I was like, where are the Gamecocks fans? Uh, like where are they at? The doors didn't open until an hour before the game, which is really weird. At Rupp for media, we can get in like what 2.5 hours before the game. They didn't let us in until an hour before the game, which was kind of annoying. And the same with the fans. So it was kind of late getting in there, but a lot of blue. But then when you see it fill up, it's like, oh wow, yeah, this was all Gamecocks. BBN had a good little pocket, and when they played well, like there was like a stretch in the first half, they were hitting buckets, and then a BBN chant, "Go Big Blue" chant, started, but it was quick, man, and that was it. The rest of the night was all Gamecocks. They were living it up. They were showing Beamer on the big screen and Don Staley with her players. So they had a party for sure.
Yeah. Before we get into what was, in my opinion, an absolute beatdown in South Carolina, all the way up to from the jump. First, we got to hit our ad break real quickly, and on the other side of that, we'll get into kind of the X's and O's and the ugly parts of what we've seen of Kentucky from this year.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158.
Thank you all for everyone who stayed on the other side of that ad break. We kind of delayed this a little bit, but we've got to get into it. The South Carolina game, Kentucky's first loss since UNC Wilmington. Man, there's not a whole lot of positive come from that game. I mean, to my opinion, in my exact words, it was an absolute beatdown, and Kentucky got out coached, they got out scouted, they got outplayed. Everything from about the 5 minute point on, when Kentucky had it tied around 5 minutes, and then they got it within 2 points. They never took the lead after that, and South Carolina had the lead the rest of the way. Then it got real ugly. Tim, what's your quick take, or if you want to hit on the South Carolina game, how did you feel, and what do you think this team needs to do different? And what are your takes about the South Carolina loss?
I struggled watching it at one point. I'm going to be completely honest, but I toughed through it and everything. But I mean, looking at the stats here, they shot 25 for 62 in total. That's 40.3%. And only had 7 assists the entire game. That is outrageous. I mean, previous games, like DJ Wagner has been on a roll. He's probably had over 5 assists the past, I don't know how many games. And as a team, you get 7 assists. That is horrible. And really, I mean, Kentucky was ranked as the number one offense going into that game. Arizona was right there, kind of on their tail. Now I think they're tied with them. But you stop the number one offense, you hold them to what was it, 62 points?
Yes,
Yeah,
62.
62 points. Every single team from now on, if they don't watch this film and look what's at South Carolina, look at what they did as far as their defensive end goes, then they're stupid, if I'm being completely honest, because they figured out a way to stop us and make us look embarrassing. I mean, it's this game was basically like going up in front of your class and peeing your pants or something. You're up on the national stage, sixth ranked team, and you get absolutely demolished like that. It's embarrassing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Cal even said it himself, men versus boys. I thought he summed that up pretty well. You know, I wondered how you would. I really didn't know how you would take out Kentucky's. You know, how do you get them from scoring the best in the country, 90 points a game? I think even coming into that game, it hit was around 91. I think we saw exactly what it is. Antonio Reeves talked about it in his post game comments. He says that the defense. I forget what you call it, but the defense stepped up and pretty much was face to face, it's like a face guard on each player. So instead of giving them that respective room to shoot that 3-pointer, they were up on them. That way, it makes them hard to get the pass, hard for them to even catch it and shoot. You know, as soon as you catch it, somebody's right in your face. You don't even have time to get into your form. And I thought they did a great job, and you could tell that the South Carolina had that plan. They were going to take away their shooting, make them go to the rim and see what happens there. And Kentucky felt that as well. You know, they had no help from their big men. I mean, in my opinion, no help. They had, I think, a total of 9 points, 7 shots total, I believe, something like that. And I've come from the take of those big men need to have 5 or 6 shots each, and they combined for like 7 shots for like 9 points. And there was no help down low. You know, if your 3-point shots are not falling, and Kentucky relies on those points a lot, I think what you need to do is I also put out an article about this, explaining it more in depth. But you need to go at what works. You have your leading scorer in Antonio Reeves who can get to the basket and hit those floaters and those mid-range shots. Go to that. You know that's going to work. If not, go to DJ Wagner. Let him finish at the rim and see if that works. If not that, work your post. Trey Mitchell was having a good first half against that guy. I forget what Clark or whatever his name was again. Feed it to Aaron Bradshaw, Big Z. Get your big guys going if your 3-point shots are not falling in. That wasn't there either. Then though on the other end, South Carolina was score after score after score. They shot, I think it was like 48%, somewhere around 50 on field goals, somewhere around 50 on 3-point shooting. I mean, if you're going to make one out of almost every 2 of your shots, you know, what do you expect? That's the way it felt. And in the game, I was like, every time they went down there, I was like, I feel like they're going to score. Like there was not a play where I was like, we're going to stop them on defense. We never would. If we were lucky to hit a 3, they'd come down there, hit a 3 back or 2, and then they'd still hit 2 again. And just awful all the way around. Michael, let's see what your thoughts are. I'm going to kind of quit talking and let, pass it on to you.
No, man, that's a good point. It did feel like that in the second half when, they tried to get back in the game, but every time they scored, they let South Carolina score. It is what it is. Like, Antonio said it, they got punked. It's fine. It happens. Good learning experience for a young team because they were just due, and I know the team and the coaches are never going to say it, but they were due. You can't just score 90 every game. You at some point you're due for a bad game. I was surprised to see them kind of fold under that intensity with that defensive pressure that they were feeling on offense. Like South Carolina's big, man. Those dudes are grown men. They're dudes. They are like no sus. Like they're thick humans. Like they are large men, and they're clearly like getting in your grill, right? And they're making things difficult. DJ's trying to drive and is falling down. And, Rob was the only one getting anything going in that first half because he's so shifty that he can just get by anybody. He had that little hezzy, the double move where, and then he got the floater, which was sweet. But Trey was getting the ball swatted out of his hand. Antonio was getting the ball swatted, and the refs were letting it go, which is fine. They were consistent. They let both teams go. Like there was a sequence there at the beginning of the game when, both. I think it was like a minute and a half where both sides, they probably could have been called fouls and just didn't. So you knew what kind of game it was going to be. South Carolina was going to be able to do what they wanted to do, which is just get in your grill and make it difficult on you. And these guys are, they're young, they're pretty boys, 5-star. They want to go put 90 up and play like that. Now it's time to like get gritty, learn how to win these gritty games. And I know it's a little cliche-ish, but it's what you got to do. You got to do it, especially in conference play. It's how that Tennessee game's going to look, man. Tennessee's always tough. They're always going to be tough defensively. So this was a good experience for them to just kind of see what it is. I was a little concerned with how when it was tough, it's like the freshmen, they're struggling, and it's like, well, somebody's got to pull you out of it. When nobody can score, you got to look to somebody to just carry you for a little while until you can try to get some offense flowing. And nobody did it besides Rob for a little while there in the first half. He was the only one scoring. He got 11 of the team's 25 first half points. He had a little run, but outside of that, there was nobody that was like, okay, we it's just how it is in basketball. Like, we can't score. Like, just feed him. At least he can score. Like, he'll get us out of it. He'll work us through this tough stretch. And nobody did. So that was the concerning part there in the second half. And then you're right with the defense. They just couldn't get stopped. 79 points is still a lot, and it's not a lot when you score 95, but it's still a lot especially when you score 62. So at some point, it might just be what this team is. They might just be a team that's just going to give up 70s every game minimum. It'd be nice if they had a good, 80 to 60 win down in Fayetteville. Just lock up on defense, but maybe that's just not what this team's going to give you all year. You never know. I mean, at some point, 18 games, and I know you were looking up stats, Tim, defensive stats. I don't know how many they're giving up, but it's got to be a lot, and towards the bottom of the SEC at least. So we'll see if they can turn it around, but they're going to have bad offensive nights like this. It just happens every once in a while, and you hope it doesn't happen in the tournament, but that's every Kentucky fan's nightmare. It's like, oh, well, we score 90 every game, but the one bad game is going to be in the Sweet 16, and it's over. So they got to be able to rely on their defense to try to like slow the game down and limit the point totals and try to make something happen. But they'll get there. They're young. There's still so much ball left, so they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to add on a little bit to the South Carolina game. I'll get into our season defensive stats that I did 2 hours of research on later.
Hey,
But
there you go.
I was going to say during his post-game presser, Cal talked a lot about how they're playing that face-to-face defense, and in order to get by that, you don't dance with the ball. They were sitting there trying to dribble around, get out of the pressure. He was trying to really emphasize on just driving by that person. If he's that close to you, you can blow by them. And yeah, they may not have been calling a whole lot of fouls, but eventually they have to start calling something instead of us just kind of forcing up a shot. So Kyle said he said drive by the person probably at least 30 times during the game. So I don't know if I don't know if that's just kind of them being young, not really listening in on what the coach is saying, kind of going back. I mean, a lot of these players are ISO players. They know how to dribble, they know how to dance around and everything. So I don't know if that was just like more so out of their comfort zone or what. I don't know if y'all kind of picked up on that.
Well, I think one thing they said is that Antonio Reeves said they kept taking, he literally said they kept taking away our one-on-ones. So when they were up on them, they had no chance to really get off the 3-point comfortably, the 3-point shot. They couldn't get set. So then they were forced to catch it at their chest. Somebody's right in your face. Let me try to, cross over and get past them. And he said they were just beating them on their one-on-ones. They were trying, that was their only option. They couldn't get past them. They came in with a top 40 defense. So it makes sense. All of it adds up that they struggled against them. But my thing is, it's like we did rely on Rob Dillingham, and if you go from scoring fresh off a 105-point game to a season low 62 points in back-to-back games, what happened? Something is up. No good team should have realistically that range of, we could go out here and score 105. They scored 118 against Marshall, but our second highest of the year in the very next game, our season low. Like, that shows to me, that tells me you're relying on something too much. And don't get me wrong, I love that we shoot a lot of threes, and we need to keep relying on that, but we need to have something else when that's not working. And what that is, we didn't have it there against South Carolina. Um,
Rock
Tim,
those pick and rolls, man. When
yeah.
things get tough, just run the pick and roll. Bradshaw pick and pop, Z pick and pop. Ugo had a good roll to the rim, and he got a lob, so they just got to run that when things get tough.
Are either of y'all worried about, was this, I don't want to call it a fluke, but was this a one-time thing, or was this something that we need to really look into, of these road environments, not being prepared for that atmosphere? No, we went to at Louisville, but that was a Kentucky home game. I know we're going to Arkansas next, and they're not a good Arkansas team, but like, I guarantee that crowd's going to be just like it was last year, sold out. It's going to be another crazy environment. You already know Arkansas is going to play better than they have all year. I fully expect it not to be a blowout. When if it was at Rupp Arena, it probably would be. It'd be a comfortable win. Are either of you concerned about, that on the road type of, how this team plays on the road in a crazy environment that's not neutral or home?
See Saturday, man. I'll wait till Saturday. The A&M, that could have gone either way, man. Like, Cats played really well in that game. It's just A&M played out of their minds. Like, somebody's got to lose. Like, in this one, you got punked. You got punked. I mean, Cal said it. Got manhandled. That A&M one was just like a shootout, and that game was awesome to watch. Somebody has to lose the game, so I'm not worried about that. They were still able to make shots in a tough road environment. I think this one was more of South Carolina's physical play, and South Carolina's a good team. They better be in the poll. They're 16-3. Lamont Paris is a dog. I covered his teams at Chattanooga when I was in Johnson City covering ETSU, some SoCon hoops, and his teams were good. Coach Steve Forbes always beat him, but then the 2020 team, they came into Johnson City and hit a game winner. I covered that game, and then beat the Bucks in Chattanooga too. So that was a reigning SoCon champ that they beat twice. So, and then Lamont gets the SC job eventually. So he's a good coach, and that's a really good team. I'll wait and see how Saturday goes. If they lose that one, then it's like, okay, if you're 0 for 3 in the last 3 road games, then maybe there is something going on.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. I'd say right now it's definitely too early. I mean, really just as a team offensively, I'm not worried about it at all unless they go against another physical team like South Carolina. They really need to learn how to play against a team like that. But defense, this is not going to be a championship team with this defense, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Tim, let's get into it. You got the defensive stats. Let's hear how bad it is, man. I
Oh,
already
you
know it's
ready?
to the
All
numbers.
right. All right. Well, buckle in. I want to first ask you all to start off. Out of the 362 total teams, where do you think Kentucky ranks as far as points allowed a game?
Out of 362.
200s.
Okay, 200s.
You said
Low or high 200s?
I feel like there are a lot of garbage teams out there, man. I'd say mid to low. I'd say I'll
Okay.
give like 230.
Okay.
I'd say 300 or worse. So somewhere past the 300 to 362.
Okay, Michael, you look shocked about that.
If they're in the 300s, that's bad. I wouldn't be surprised though. They probably are, huh?
Defense is
They
bad.
sure are. They sure are. Out of 362, they are 314th.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Absolutely horrible. They allow 77.3 points a game. All right. And so, according to the stats, I did some digging. This is not only the worst defensive team under the Cal era, but it is the worst defensive Kentucky team since the 1990 and 91 season. That's over 30 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best
Yeah.
offensive teams too. It's like
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
you're one.
it is. Yeah, it's like probably top 5 best offensive teams.
Wow.
Good work, Tim.
Well, I got more. I got more. So,
Might as well uncover it now because it can't get a whole lot worse. I don't think. Maybe
yeah.
I'm jinxing it. Let's hear it.
So this is okay, so the second worst defensive team was the 2016-2017 team, and they allowed 71.5 points a game. if we allowed 71.5 points a game, that would take us from 314 all the way up to 171st this year. So those 6 points make quite the difference. And to take it a little further, I looked at the points allowed stats dating all the way back to when they first started tracking this in 1947 and discovered that this is actually the 8th worst defensive team in Kentucky history. So, out of how many seasons?
120 or something like that.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty bad. But I will say there was a team down there that allowed more points than us, and that was Arkansas. So, going down to Fayetteville, this is a must win for us. I gotta say, it is an
Shootout.
absolute must win. Yeah, it's gonna be a shootout, definitely.
Probably be what 85 plus each. It's probably gonna just like that Texas A&M game, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, kind of the whole thing might I add with every team turns into the 2016, 2017 Golden State Warriors whenever they play us. I mean, that's just because we can't defend them. We can't guard them. And the statistics go to show. And yeah, that's what Coach Cal always says. But I mean, coaches lie, stats don't. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
Tim,
what did Tucker tweet out? He was like, at some point it's not them, it's you. I was like, yeah, that's true. Like at some point it's your defense. Come on.
you said
But
who did that?
thank Kyle Tucker.
Oh,
Um
I'm blocked.
regarding that comment. But I mean,
I'm blocked. I can't.
Cal's got a fair point. Just when you look at like teams, they just don't hit that many threes. The threes made per game in those games versus their regular season pace. It's fair. But you know, man, they almost lost at Florida too. So it could be a thing. I don't know. I mean, we'll see Saturday. You got 2 at home, at Vandy, that's a win. Gonzaga home, Ole Miss home. So you get 4 of the next 5 at home. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That should make you feel all comfy and cozy, especially if you lose on Saturday. I think the Cats will win. I mean, Arkansas, they're what? They're 10-9. Yeah. Ole Miss still 16-3. Surprising.
If Arkansas was at home, if we were at home for that game, I don't hardly blink an eye at this, to be honest with you. I still got us winning. I still got us winning probably by like 6 or 7. But like, I truly believe it's going to be the whole pregame atmosphere of just like South Carolina. And I expect it to be really a dogfight and probably until about 5 minutes left to go. I really do. I'd love to be wrong, but I feel like they're going to get up and they're going to play like a Elite Eight team. I know they're not going to make it there this year, but like I feel like they're going to get up for this game. Of course, even with Kentucky being beatable, teams still get up for them every single game. Are you making down the trip down there to Fayetteville, Michael?
I wish, man. I wish, but you know, we don't, get money for hotel rooms. So I kind of when I travel, I just stay with a buddy. I stayed in a buddy in Greenville, and then I'll be at the Vandy game. I got friends in Nash, and then Tennessee, I'll just do a day trip. Auburn, I got a cousin that lives down there outside of Auburn, but I got no connects in Fayetteville, so I'll be staying home and then getting ready for Sunday, watching my Lions in the NFC title game, which I'm nervous about. But if Debo doesn't play, then we're good, hopefully. Um, but so no, I will not be going down. But I think the Cats will win.
Yeah.
I think you could really go on a run here because going to beat Florida again. And that Tennessee game, man, next Saturday, that one's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be there for that.
Yeah, I think them both will be there for that one. All three will be inside of Rep Arena together. So
Yeah, that game's gonna be crazy. And the Gonzaga game should be pretty hyped too. The Cats should win, but it's obviously a fun non-conference game. Ole Miss, 9 o'clock till. That'll be an interesting one. And then at Auburn, who just lost. So I could see a little run starting here. It was before A&M, it was what, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row between UNCW and A&M. So yeah, it would help them to go on a little running.
what that tells me is a lot of time to improve on defense, and a lot of times to maybe figure out does a rotation need to be cut at all? I'm really kind of finding myself in the category of what are we doing with Justin Edwards? Even if everyone don't agree with me, that's okay. But like Justin Edwards spent 23 minutes, 23 brutal long minutes against South Carolina and took one shot. He had 2 points. I saw one layup where he went and well, I guess he might have no, this one was a foul. He went to do a layup and like, dude, this there was a guy trailing right behind him at the free throw line. I thought anybody should make that layup and just bricked it. Um, man, I don't know. It's getting tough to watch, and it's kind of I understand while Cal is riding him. You know, you got your projected top 5 player coming to Kentucky, and then if the narrative changes of wow, he came in that way and he left as a 2-year player at Kentucky, like I can see how it can hurt. You know, Cal, and I understand why he's trying to get him going, but like I don't know how good it's really helping them. It's hurting my big thing is it's hurting the team. Somebody else could be out there who's producing. You're basically taking 4 on 5 now if you're leaving Justin Edwards out there because he does not provide a whole lot to this team, in my opinion. I think he needs to stay in that final rotation. I don't say give up on him, but like I think he needs to be he kind of needs to start going down a little bit on that rotation, in my opinion, because he's not provided a whole lot to us. And we're almost halfway through the season. Like how kind of goes back to the whole Devin Leary. How long are we gonna wait till we realize like
Huh.
he's not a top 5 projected player that he was projected to? We were sitting there at that game. You're the one that made that point to me, Michael. You put that thought in my head. You were like, "Oh, we're 10 games into this. Is Devin Leary's not a good quarterback?" And I was trying to fend for him, but yeah, I was like, "That's a good point." You know, the season ain't halfway. You know, we're kind of far into this thing. What do y'all think about Justin Edwards? Michael, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I like it. Your thought about trimming the rotation is valid, and that is the case for most teams. But with this roster, it's just hard to do it because who are you going to cut? You know, I mean, and then you're still waiting on a do. You play 9 players in this game, and a do would have been 10. So, and you can't just bench Edwards. I mean, because then if you're benching a 5-star, then that's killing you on the recruiting trail.
Cal
Um,
won't do it. He will not. I
all
promise.
right,
He
and
might
you
make a
shouldn't. You shouldn't. I mean, you got to keep letting him try to work through it, and if he doesn't, then he either comes back or he just gets lucky with like a Chris Livingston and just gets scooped up with one of the last picks on the draft just as a flyer and go to the G League. But you can't bench him, and then he transfers and goes somewhere else. You don't want that either. So I think they'll just keep rolling. You have to keep. He's got too much talent. He can't dribble really. I mean, he struggles to dribble. He struggles to drive in traffic, which is what he has to do if he's a slashing forward. I mean, like you got to be able to get to the cup. If you can't shoot, then you got to get to the cup. And if you can't get to the cup, then what are you doing? And you know, he's been a little bit better defensively, but his defense still isn't great.
Where's
I
your
mean,
with him? Well,
huh?
where do you for Justin Edwards? Where do you call it? Like, I'm not saying bench him, but like where he gets out of that starting lineup. Where would you say like what? How much longer do you feel like we should wait for that?
I mean, I don't really care about starting. I mean, it's not about who starts, it's about who finishes. And especially like in big games, um, you know, especially in the tournament, like he'll get pulled and then he's not coming back in. You know, he'll get 10 minutes. And so the starting really doesn't matter to me. I think you have to keep starting him. Um, I think their starting lineup is fine. You don't really want to like Aaron's your starting 5. You know, DJ Tone, obviously starters with Trey. And then, you know, Edwards could be you could just switch Adu, but you know, it doesn't really matter. The, if you bench Edwards and put Adu in there, then Adu's getting all those minutes. And then Edwards isn't playing, he's not even coming in the game. So Adu, like, you know, will add a little bit. I still say you just leave the lineup and Adu will just take some of those minutes.
Yeah, I think Tim. Let's get your thoughts on Justin Edwards too. But I guess I should have worded it differently. I'm more of like his minutes he's getting long for the whole game. Like yeah, I agree with you. Starting lineup's not that big of a deal, but like he's playing so many minutes where I would rather see Deuce have some of those minutes. If I'm being honest with you, I would. You know, Cal said he's expected back for at Arkansas, supposed to be back. We'll see. But Tim, I mean, me and Michael kind of seen different on there. What's your middle ground on that? What do you think about Justin Edwards and should anything change with them or no?
I think really when Adu comes back, you'll see, of course, some of his minutes cut. And the reason I say that is because I feel like Adu knows his role and is a lot more confident in his role. Whereas Justin Edwards struggles so much on the offensive end that he can't really find his role. like just what Michael said. I mean, if you're a slashing four, athletic four, and you can't defend or you can't drive in and finish, then that's not really your role. And you had kind of have to venture out and try to figure out something else you can do. Um, and I mean, I want nothing but the best for Justin Edwards, of course, but part of me almost feels like if he, following this season, whatever the result is, enters his name into the draft, have a really good workout, I almost feel the best thing for him is to leave his name in the draft because this is a really weak draft class. And so that might be his best chance of going pro because we don't know how his second season will be at all.
Yeah. All three great points. There's definitely parts that both of you said that I completely agree with. So, we'll see. Time will tell. Like I said, he's not going to do what I was asking. So, we'll see. Time will tell. We'll see what Cal will do and see how Justin Edwards works out for his freshman year at Kentucky. We still got a lot of games left. Got a couple under our belt already, but transitioning into what's next.
Well, and I'd also say like there's still, as you said, a lot of time. We've seen it. He had a 20-point game, right? And he's had two or three in double digits too. So he'll have those games. Maybe he does it Saturday and just surprises us. Who knows? Like the Reed, like everyone was freaking out about him, right? And I was like, let's settle down a little bit. Like he's not a lottery pick. If he's a lottery pick, then you're winning the national championship. Like if he keeps doing what he was doing, to not get an assist and just 3 points in the game. Like you guys mentioned, only 7 assists, only 3 players with assists, so they needed to move the ball more. I was just a little surprised at Reed. He's just been,
How many minutes did
he just didn't really didn't do much in the game. And then what did he get at Georgia? He got 12, so that's solid. And then Mississippi State, the game I was at, what did he get? He got 9. So it's kind of like,
How many minutes did he have in South Carolina? I felt like it wasn't a lot. How many minutes did he have down at South Carolina?
Let me look. It's not showing minutes on my screen, but I'll pull it up. But
Like 12 or something.
He had
I've got
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay.
it's just
So-
like that, Reed's defense was awesome. He can still get skills. He's got great hands. But the blocking 3-pointers and like locking people up, the game like that, South Carolina physical, like those were grown men out there. Reed, I don't think he was lost, but he just didn't really make an impact on the floor. So just look for him to have a bounce back game too. I just wanted to point that out, but go ahead, Trace.
Oh, yeah, no, man. It's just like you said. We clearly weren't ready for that. We have immensely much more talent than South Carolina does by far. There's no question in that. But they weren't ready for that moment, and I guess if I was about to say I don't know why, but I guess our defense is the big kicker on that, and then your shots don't fall. So there's your blueprint to be beating Kentucky. Um, but yeah, I mean, before we start looking forward, I know Tim, you said you had a bunch of stats. Did you have anything else left that we skipped over earlier?
No, I was just looking at defensive stats, but I'm trying to look right now, see if I can figure out Arkansas's points per game because I know their defense. So yeah, their defense is 318th. So just four ranks below us, and their offense, they only score 76.2 points a game. So that's 134th in the nation. So we're tied for first. And I mean, it looking at the stats, it should be an easy win, but there is no telling with this team.
Yeah, what the stats tell me right there is Kentucky needs to win by 10 or 15 points. I mean,
Yeah.
both going to give a lot of points. So if it's 95 to 80, but like what the stats tell me is Kentucky will win by scoring. We'll see. We'll see if stats, because stats didn't keep it going for the Carolina game. Your boy lost quite a bit lost every single bet because every single bet that I had was Kentucky winning and covering the measly 79.5 points, fresh off of a 105-point game. I will not tell you all how much money I lost because it's embarrassingly too much. And I'm going to take a couple games off of betting. It's becoming a little problem for me. I was getting on a big hot streak. Like I really was. I feel like I know Kentucky pretty well. We have to cover their every move. And, when things go against what stats tell you and against the narrative's been all year long, you get bankrupt a little bit on your bets. So I'm gonna take a couple games off. Y'all won't have to listen to me talk about my stupid bets. No bets for Arkansas.
If you want to bet, just do the Antonio over. Dude cooked in that arena last year. He's going to do it again.
Yeah,
So what did he get? Like 30, right?
37 at Arkansas.
Ooh. Yeah, they need that.
That was the game with, if y'all remember, that's the game when Cason Wallace, I'm sorry. Cason Wallace, he either got injured in that game or he got injured like he was out for the whole game. But I just remember Cason Wallace was not a factor in that game, and Antonio Reeves was out there by himself. And with his back against the wall, put up 37, and probably one of his best performances is his best performance, and he did it on a sold out on the road environment. That was a special game. I put out that clip today just to kind of put it back on people's timelines, and it was so much fun watching it. I was like, dang, I know Reeves has got it, but I forgot he had that in him to go on the road and hit almost 40.
Because there was no Xavier in that game too, right? Xavier was hurt, or maybe he just didn't play much. But
I think he was on that stretch where he didn't play for a while going. If my memory serves me right, was that close to the tournament? Like, because he went for a big stretch there where like we just had no clue what was going on with Wheeler.
yeah, Xavier didn't play. Um,
That was in March. The Arkansas game was in March. Yeah, it had to be close to the SEC tournament and NCAA tournament. I think Wheeler was just out for like 10 games there.
yeah, he got 12 for 17, 11 free throws, 37 points. It's crazy. Toppin at 21. Oscar at 12 and 13.
Oscar had what?
Livingston,
Elbows to the face?
Livingston had 1 point and 9 boards. Wow. And
That'd get you drafted at Kentucky.
yeah, Adu had 7. That would be big if he plays this weekend. He looked pretty good, like out there with the team. What pregame on Tuesday? I was like, but he had the chain out. I was like, but I think he should be close. Um, they yeah, that thing had 19,200 fans in there. That place is gonna be rocking. But yeah, bet the tone over if you want to break your streak, Trace.
Yeah, I'm taking one out. I'm taking one for the team. I got to sit out this one. I think they hit 18,000 if I saw that right at South Carolina. So close to what you just witnessed, man.
Place was packed. It was loud, man. That court storming was fun.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
second time.
What
The
about how?
so I covered the Kentucky at Notre Dame game a couple years ago when Cats lost up there, the tie team. They stormed the court then. I feel like I did another court storming at some point in my career. Like maybe,
Football?
you know what I did? I did when I was in school, I covered the Michigan State at Indiana basketball game. And that Cassius Winston team, they made the Final Four. They were ranked like top 10, but Indiana beat them there when I was a student, and that was that was my first court storming. And then the UK at Notre Dame, and now this one. So court storms are fun, man. They're just exhilarating. So I was happy for them. Obviously it was a tough loss for the boys, but that's a memory those fans are gonna remember forever. It was pretty epic. Like they were trying to set out the rope, the yellow rope. I was like, you guys aren't stopping them. And they're like, well, we just have to attempt to try. That's their job. Like they have to just attempt. So they just held out the rope right when the fans started coming. They had to drop the rope. It was pretty funny. But and hey man, that Arkansas crowd would probably storm the court too if they win on Saturday. So yeah, big game for the Cats. I don't know if it's must win. Maybe it is, Tim. I feel you there. I mean, like you can't lose another SEC road game because then it becomes a thing, right? And then it's a pot. So
I just say
big
it's a
game.
must win based off the numbers I've been seeing, but I mean
Yeah.
stats aren't everything.
Yeah, go look at my DraftKings app. They're not everything. But Tim, I feel like we'd be remiss. I'm glad you hopped on here, but like, let's check out what's your appearance. I mean, you got is that Kentucky baseball jersey you got on? Nice, repping the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael, we kind of got matching shirt or hat and shirt. I like it, like it. Michael's at the news station. I'm in my apartment. I don't got a fancy setup like yours. I did add a little decoration this time. Try to be festive to compete, with you all. Y'all got the nice setups, but I'm not over at the Cats coverage headquarters anymore. We can go over there, but like I can just easily hop on the podcast here. So trying to figure out the background. We'll figure it out. Might hop back over there some time to time. But guys, Up next, Florida. This Saturday, I think it's like, is it a 6 o'clock game? It's an evening game. Or I'm
Arkansas.
sorry,
Yeah,
get it-
Arkansas.
I'm sorry, that's the next home game. Let me not get too far ahead. At Arkansas, got Florida after that one, so that would be the next home game back. I think it is a must win at Arkansas. I think it is.
We'll see. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, but that's all I've got. Michael, Tim, any last words before we hop off this podcast tonight?
No, nothing from me.
You
See,
definitely
Z can go hit a couple threes.
shit. We'll need something. Not put up 62 points this round. Guys, y'all have a good night. It's good catching up with y'all. We'll catch you all after the Arkansas game.